All right, welcome back to the channel. Tony here. So today we're cleaning our brake system. So I inspected my brake pads and then put them back in, and I couldn't get a lever, so on and so on. So I'm flushing the system, taking that opportunity to rebuild the calipers. So I have this little banjo bolt on here, and this is so that I can blow air through the system. So I got bags on either side, as you can see right there. And then we're going to take this little guy right here, and we're just going to blow some air through the system. So we're purging the system of any blockages or any fluid. So we're going to completely purge it. So we just did that. Let's take a look. So yeah, so that's what we got. And then we're going to go ahead and hook up the master cylinder up here, and then we're going to go ahead and flush the system and then go ahead and bleed it. First, we got to put back together everything. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. All right, so we got everything laid out. All this has been cleaned with soap and water, and we are going to reassemble. I do have a whole set of this and all this on order, but I want to put it back together and make sure everything's working, that this isn't the problem, because I haven't been able to get a lever. So as you saw, I flushed out the whole system. So now we're going to just put it back together, flush it with some brake fluid, and if we get a lever, great. If not, then we have to dig in and see what the problem is. We get a lever, then when my parts come in, I'll take these off and I'll swap these out. It's not a big deal. And then I'll go ahead and put some fresh oil, brake fluid oil back in there, and then we'll be good to go. Brakes are still good. I mean, there's still quite a bit left on there. I just need to clean them up a little bit, but they've been scrubbed nice and clean. These guys here have been scrubbed. I'm going to blow everything out with compressed air, give it a good inspection, make sure that everything is good, and then we'll put her all back together and see what happens. But yeah, this is a complete brake redo, cleanup, inspection, the whole 9 yards. So, you know, we want to inspect these guys right here and make sure that there's nothing, no scratches, nothing on these, and get them really clean. These were stuck, so they were frozen. I had to use compressed air. So when you have it put together as a unit, something similar to this, you can put compressed air through here, and it'll pop, you know, put a piece of cardboard between or whatever, and it'll pop, but it only popped 2. So I was only able to get 2 out. And then once I separated it, I was able to, you just take one of these guys and you just put it in here, nice and easy like this. You hold this down, you put a rag over this, and then you just add air, and then you can pop that secondary one out. But these were stuck, so they weren't moving freely. I had squeaky brakes, and I can only guess that was the problem with my squeaky brakes. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so we've blown everything out. So you can see we're pretty clean and dry. And then we'll go ahead and lubricate this and go ahead and get those back in. So we need to next go ahead and clean these and inspect them. I think they're pretty good, but we'll just give them a once over. So we'll use this right here, and we'll go ahead and get these guys a little bit clean, just any grime or anything like that, and inspect them, make sure there's no real damage. You know, because sometimes when you pull these out, you pull them out with something like this, and sometimes that can damage them. Got to be really careful. Get these all cleaned and inspected. Make sure they're not ripped. They're all, you know, I washed them in soap and water, so they should be pretty good as we go. I just want to make sure that there's nothing nothing on any of these that are going to be a problem. You have two different sizes, so including these, you got 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's 16. Well, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and get these back in here. I did clean everything out with this. So after blowing it out and after you know, soap and water and so on, then I went ahead and cleaned them out with that one last time. But I still see a little bit of moisture inside here, so we'll make sure that we can blow that out. That's in the rings. So we get all that out. Again, we're going to be mixing in some brake fluid to lubricate. So we'll hit these, get them cleaned. So then next what we do is we got two different sizes. So these go in first. So they go into the back one, and then you got a front one up here. So there's two. I know that somewhere in the manual, in the shop manual, it says do not separate, but look, this is the best way to do it. If you want to clean them, inspect them, get them all nice and cleaned up, separate them. It's not a big deal. You go to Harbor Freight and you buy this, which is $11, and you get all the sizes you need for these guys right here. You don't need the Honda one. All right, we're going to go ahead and start assembling, cleaning, drying, and making sure everything's good to go. So we're oiling these, and then we'll go ahead and put them in. There is no you know, directional, just don't get them inside out. And it's fairly easy to get in. Just start and just run your finger around. You know, you might have to hold it in place because it's going to want to come out, but just stuff it in there. It'll get in there. Just don't get it twisted. See, I just got this little bit here to do. Okay, so there, I got both those in, and we are oiling everything. And yes, I'm not wearing gloves. Scold me if you may. Okay, so now we got the big one to put in. Still goes in. It goes in fairly easy. I mean, it's really not that. But could you imagine doing this with these not separated? I don't think it would be even possible. So we got that in. It's all seated. And we'll put the small one in. Let's make sure we get that oil. One finger, and then hold that in place, and then just start working it around. And it'll pop right in. Okay, so there's that. So now we've got those in. So these are, this side's done. So then we'll do the opposite side. Again, we want to do the bottom one first. Just, I mean, I don't think it really matters, but I don't want to be rubbing up against the, and that's where you use this guy really gently. Just pull it out. Okay, so this guy was supposed to go into, they're definitely oversized, so it can be kind of deceiving of where they go because they fit inside. Seeing is the biggest problem. If you pinch it like this, then you can get it started and just start stuffing it in there. It will go. Once it clicks in there, you'll feel it, and then you'll know that you have some progress. So you can see how it's started right there, and then just work it around. Now we'll get the smaller one. So I do separate them. So we've got the large there. You know, I like to do all my own work because I like to know how things work, and that way when I encounter a problem, I know, okay, is it this, is it that, how do I solve that problem? So at further inspection, we've got them all in there. Go ahead and oil this up a little bit more. This is a previously opened can, and I know that, you know, they say you aren't supposed to do that, but hey, who are we to listen to anyway? So we're going to clean these so they're all nice and clean. And we'll oil them. Okay, so this is one of the large ones.
And because of the reporting.
Okay, so that one's in.
It makes it even more.
And we'll do a small one. They are a tight fit.
In decency as a child, but we realized that this person had also worked as a juvenile corrections officer and was investigated for sexual misconduct by the Texas Juvenile Justice Department.
All right, so there we got them in. You don't have to push them all the way in, but I am for now. It'll be easier to put the, and I may test them so I can blow some air through them and put a block in between there. We'll see. So you want to make sure you got all your, don't want to get them mixed up. So this is the small one. We'll go ahead and do this one next. Put some oil on it. Well lubed. Okay, so that's a small one. I kind of twist them a little bit instead of just plunging them down in, but once you get them pretty much in there, then you can just push them in evenly, because you do have a little metal loop, and then there you go. It's in there nice and well. Okay, make sure we got our rings in there. We got our rings in there. We'll go ahead and one thing you want to make sure is that when you do service them, that you don't pop them out so far that it creates a leak. All right, so there's the two halves, and these guys will go together like that. And then we still need this guy, so let's go ahead and oil this up. This one sits right there, so you can see. And then we're going to go ahead and match these up. So here's your bolts. So I'll do a dry fit first. So I might want to put my spring in before I put these in. And then if I do Loctite on these, I'll do them individually after it's assembled. But there you can see, so we've got everything in there. We've got a little bit of space here. We can drop down our springs down in there and so on, or we can just put them in like normally. But that's pretty much it right now. And we will test it with some air before we put them back on over there. So what we do is we set something in this slot right here, because that way we can open it up. So I usually put I have a piece of aluminum, 1/4 inch aluminum, that I'll just drop right down in there, and then I'll go ahead and pump them out, and then that way I can remove that and I can push them back in with my fingers and so on. And you can just put, but you definitely want to have something in there. All right, so there's one already assembled and ready. We'll go ahead and do the second one. You want to make sure that when you do put these together that you have the right components. You really can't mess up, because this part right here, as long as you line up those holes, you're good to go. And that's the hole with the bushing. So if you were to put this one on here, I think they're identical. So I don't think that's a problem. But just as long as you're lining up the holes of the bushing, you should be good. The little rubber gasket. So that one's put together, ready to drop this guy down in here. And they do go in one specific way, because you have this little guy right there, and then you have this lip here. So I'll look at my shop manual and figure out which one. So how do you know what the top is? Well, this is the top. So this is where your screw goes, this guy right here, and that's going to be the top of your caliper assembly. So I have done that backwards before. So this gives you that's the top. So it should sit just like this. So you don't put them in upside down, which I've done that before and couldn't get them to bleed, couldn't get anything to work. And so taking a look at this, so sometimes you'll get oil leaking out of here, and that's when you're bleeding it, because you can see it's just metal to metal, this little guy right here. So it loosens up, and then the oil is supposed to come out of that little tiny hole and up here, but you might get some through the threads too. Once it's tight, you won't, but when you're bleeding it, you can get oil coming through the threads. Once it's tight, it'll only come through the hole. So you loosen it, Now it'll either come through the threads or the hole, which is the least path of resistance. All right, so we've got the two sets built and put back together. We'll go wash our hands and then we'll go ahead and assemble this and we'll get back to it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this back together. So you have the spring that's going to go in first. So we'll oil this up. Make sure it's nice and oiled up. This is going to go in like that. So I'll just use the back side of this to push it in. Make sure it's still on the spring. So I'll push it in, quite a bit. Make sure it's on the spring. You can't really see it. You can see it from there, and it doesn't. It's odd because it doesn't center. So what I'll do is I'll move it and get it kind of centered. I don't know if that really matters. And then next goes this guy. So we'll oil him up. So this goes up against that rubber piece right there. So this pretty much goes in, and that's the function right there. And there's a ring that holds it in place, which I'll go get, and can be a pain sometimes, but that's pretty much the system right there. All right, so now that we've got this ready to go in, so you want to just push that in and hold it, and this is your little guy right here. I'll put a little bit of oil on that. It might just make it easier to go in. So what you want to do is just drop that over. Make sure that you have the opening right here. And then I'll take these guys. Sometimes it's easier to put them on before you drop it. Okay, so it's partially in. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll just take this guy right here, or I can use these. Again, I don't like using these just because they really are, you can't see, and they're a pain in the, and you'll know when it's in the groove all the way because you can spin it. So you can take your little probe here and see it just turned, so I know I'm in the groove. So that's pretty much how that works right there, and you can see it's still pretty lined up right there, so we're good. That part's put back together, and then you got this guy left, but we'll put him in after we get this installed. So we'll go ahead and get this installed, and then we'll go ahead and get it ready for now there is a boot, so here's the boot. So we'll clean the boot. So we'll just take some blown air and then that just snaps over this. And I don't take a sharp end, I take this rounded part and I push it down into there because I don't want to damage it with like a screwdriver or anything like that. So you go ahead and push that down in there, and then this just slips over the top like that. Make sure you get it in there right. Here you can use the screwdriver, just be really careful to get it down into the groove here. Okay, so now it's all the way into the groove, and then we'll seat it. So now it's seated all the way down in. There we go. So that's how that should act. And if it doesn't actuate like this, nice and smooth, then you got issues. So that's ready to go. We've got our, we'll air dry this, blast it a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and put this together, assemble it, and start bleeding. Well, we're gonna flush first. We'll flush the system first, and then we'll go ahead and start bleeding. All right, so we've got the spring in, everything's cleaned up, they've been put together. I've got the, they're just hand tight right now. I haven't torqued them down, but ready to go. And then I got some new brakes because the other ones were pretty worn. So we figured if we're gonna do this, we might as well do it with full brakes. So here's our new brake versus our old brake. Yeah, there's still some left on there, but you know. And then I marked which side they go in and also the date. So I want to know what date they've been put in. Yeah, these drop right in now that everything's clean, set up. Okay, so there we go. Got the new brakes in, everything's nice and clean. We'll torque these once we get them on. We won't be able to do that once. Well, yeah, we can. We can reach in from over there. Probably not, so we'll go ahead and torque them now to specs once we get these in. So now we've got the other set. I didn't get new springs because those springs are fine. They're just needed to be cleaned. Okay, so that way I know how old they are when I change them. I didn't do it on these. I did mark left and right, but I didn't mark the date. I usually write it up on somewhere, but this way you don't have to look for them. Okay, so this end right here with this little slash on there without the flow, that goes down. So make sure you put those down. And I don't touch the brake pad at all. I'm just touching the sides. Okay, that one's in. Again, this end down. And if we need to move it over, we'll just use this. Dry it. Gotta go where? Yeah. Nice and ready to go. Clean, fresh brakes. You know if you have them right, if the lines are opposite and not the same way. All right, so we're going to go ahead and torque these down. So we can just lay them here on the side and then we can torque them down equally. We'll go ahead and look up what that torque value is. All right, so I'm going to clean these, clean them with some brake cleaner. Just get any oils or anything like that off them. Wipe them down, and then they're ready for Loctite. So we're not going to put a lot on there, we're just going to put a drop. Put this right here. Good, good, good. Okay, so you can see the arrows pointed up. Hopefully you can see that. Arrows pointed up. And I confirmed that with the manual. So the manual shows those going up. So there's one side that goes like this and the other side goes like that. The side that goes like that is up. And that's what I have. Everything's fitting good. All right, so these are ready to put on. So that's what we'll do next. Go ahead and get these on. One thing I like to do is I run a tap through to clear out all of the Loctite, because it gets really hard to put them in, and that's going to take away from the true torque value. So if a bolt is really hard to screw in and it's not free, it's going to give you a false reading on the actual torque that it's holding in there, because there's a lot of resistance on the thread. So I like to clean them out with the tap before I put the new ones in, and you can see there's Loctite on there. And what I do is I run them through a, where is it? Oh, right here. So I run it through this to clean that off. So you should be able to screw these in by hand. If not, then you need to clean them out because again, you're going to get a false reading. So I clean all the old stuff off. Now I will put Loctite on here. Once I lock these down, I do one at a time. So I just hand tighten them, and then I'll take one off, and then I'll add Loctite to it. But I won't do that until I'm ready to finish up. So, all right. So we've got we got everything torqued down. New washers, torqued down. 45 Newton, 34 Newton, and then we just have this in here hand tight. So we won't do anything with this until we're ready to hook up the system. So we're gonna suck everything out again. We've completely blown it out, but now we're gonna flush the system. So here's a little trick. So in order, once you start tightening this down and you want this to make sure it's not gonna block that, you wanna make sure that that doesn't block that, just put a long socket on, and then that way you'll always be able to get that on when you're torquing down this here, that this doesn't get in the way. Okay, so we got the banjo hooked up, and this is my auto float, so I don't have to watch here. I fill this up with brake fluid, open the valve, turn on my pump, and all I have to do is watch this and just let it cycle it through, and that's how I bleed the brakes when it's completely dry. This thing is bone dry, like my buddy there at a sports track. This is dry as a popcorn fart. We're ready to go down there. All right, so I have my auto bleeding set up. So this is set up to autofill, so I don't have to worry about emptying or getting air in. So I got a full bottle of fluid in here, and you can see my level. I can also see it through the mirror, but this will fill that. It won't let it get below that mark right there. And then here I've got my system, so I can open this, close this, and it's attached to a wire. This is my catch. So this I can catch and recycle. So once that fills up, I'll dump it back in the bottle, and then when I got enough, I'll fill that up right there. This is just my reservoir and my pump. So she's ready to go. On the other side, I have the same setup, so I can open both or one at a time when I'm trying to, bleed one side or the other. So we'll close this side and we'll just bleed this side, and then we can switch over. So let's give it a shot. So we've opened this side. See it's filling down, and now it's filling back up. My autofill. So nothing yet in the reservoir. Nothing coming out here yet, so we're busy filling up the system. Go ahead and open this side up. There we go. We can see fluid coming through that one. Take a look up here. Yep, auto-filling. So they'll never drop below the bottom of that, this inlet here. Yep, there it goes. So it just filled back up. And I can see my fluid here. Both are open. We'll close this one for now. Just add that one. Let's see how our, yeah, you can see. So we've already captured that much. Plenty right there. Recycle. Once this guy gets full right here. So a fairly easy way, and then I can open this one if I want to bleed through both. You can see there's fluid coming through there. As far as that one, still good over here. Just opened our lever. I don't know if that makes a difference. See what happens here. Yep, there it goes, fills back up again. I call this my auto bleeder. Gives you an opportunity to just monitor. We're good there, we're not full here yet. And it's chugging away. I'm never gonna have to worry about that emptying out up there. Open this guy. And once we run once we get that full, we'll dump it back in, we'll run it a couple more times, and we'll just do one at a time. Yeah, we got good movement now. Filling that up. We'll run all of that all the way through, so you can see right up here, that's almost all the way full. We'll run it all the way down. We'll switch back and forth. Yep, put it down a little bit. So this is going to be this will be a complete flush. So we're running that whole thing right there. We're going to run all of that through the system, and then we'll start bleeding manually with the lever. So not only is this just me bleeding my brakes, but it's doing a complete flush. I sucked it completely dry with this, and then I blew compressed air through it to make sure there was no blockage or anything like that, and then now I'm just completely flushing this. See what happens. Alright, so we're going to fill up our reservoir. That was one. We'll probably do a couple more of those, or at least get that down quite a ways, and then we'll start, we'll see if we can get a lever. On the next catch, we'll do the other side. And you can do them both at the same time, but that's filling up pretty quick. We got a ways to go. And then with my mirror up there, I can see my level, which is good, but I want to recycle this. So. All right, that should do it. So we'll go ahead and shut this one down. We don't want any air getting in, so those are both shut down. turn that off, and then we'll go ahead and empty that. So far I've got 2 of these in this one. I don't know if it will hold 3. Now we'll go ahead and do 1 more. Being this thread is the opposite. The other one, when you open it, it hangs down. This one, when you open it, it goes up. So you kind of have to hold this side. So this is why I'm servicing on this side. I got all my stuff on this side, because the other one I can just push down on it and it stays open. This one, if you let it go, it'll close. It's still open, but it's not as open as I'd want it. And then I'd run into the spokes if I, even lowered it even more, so that it hangs free, because I have to push it to lock it. Now I do have the Motion Pro one, but I don't like that one. It's just, I could probably use it on this side, but I just find I don't have the rubber little gasket right there on. I take that off, so I have complete, a lot more room, and it's not in the way. You might get a little leakage from the threads, being it's not an O-ring, it's just threads. It's a timing thing. You want to make sure that you close this before you release the lever. So there's 2 ways you can do it. One, you can pump the lever, open, close. The other way is you can open, pump, close. I don't know if there's a difference. So you can see I'm getting some movement. So open, 1, 2. You get, about that much each time. 1, 2. 1, 2. We'll go ahead and do the other side. And if you want to evacuate this system, you just pump that guy. All right, we'll go ahead and do the other side. So the other side's a little harder. So the other side, you stand up, and then you just do the same thing. So we still don't have a lever. We're getting better than it was before, but still no lever. It's starting to get there. All right, we're starting to get a lever. We'll go back to this side. You can see that's how much we've manually pumped through. See, I just did it. 1, 2. So you should do one system or the other, not both. So we'll go ahead and suck some through. Yeah, see, there we go. We got a lever. All right. So I think that does it. I don't know why I had the problem before. So the problem was, all I simply did was take this off. I never disconnected anything, didn't touch the lever or anything. Popped out the brake pads, cleaned everything, put the brake pads back in, hooked everything back up, and I had no lever whatsoever. So I said, okay, well, let's just bleed it. So I did a manual bleed like you just saw, and no matter what, I couldn't get a lever. So I evacuated everything, and then ran some new fluid through there, and still couldn't get a lever. So then I went ahead and took this apart, cleaned everything, inspected it, put it back together, and let's see what happens. So this is how much we did manually. We'll go ahead and disconnect and close this up. So that's pretty good. We'll top that off. So you just turn the valve off here. Which way does it go? Okay, so that's off. So now it's safe to take this off. So once I'm done, I go ahead and I lock this down until I'm ready to ride. So what that does is just lets any air that's in there come up. Also, I use these caps right here, which are just single caps. They're not attached to anything, because I prefer those over the ones that are attached. So we'll just have to see. All looks good. I got a lever. Let's just see how strong that lever is, and we're good to go. Love this system.